We're recording. Hi.
Howdy.
How are you? I mean, I already asked you this, but
Well, yeah, but now it's up on camera, right?
yes.
I'm doing okay. These are wild times. If you had to describe it and give it one specific word,
Mm-hmm.
but no, you gave me the message. You said, "Can I interview you?" And I said, "Sure." I haven't yet asked what it's for. This could be like something that you could like edit later and make like some kind of smear campaign if I like run for Congress one day or something. Like he said this to me 20 years ago. Just cut back to this
No.
random interview. I imagine
No.
it's not that. But what is this for?
So, a lot of people have asked me, like, how other students feel about certain things. Like,
Mhm.
I've had a friend that was like, "Hey, I want to come here for sound. Like, can you tell me about it?" I'm like, "I don't do sound. I don't know anything about that." And I don't know. I guess I'm just like tired of talking about myself and talking about my experience, and I just feel like I know so many cool people that can talk. So I'm
Yeah,
just
of
like,
course.
let's like let me just introduce people and just like have
Mhm.
people see how other people feel about different like sections of SAIC, like whatever their focus is, even if they're still in fashion too, because Casey is in fashion and we have very different experiences with fashion. Um, but for the people that are potentially watching this, because this is, I don't know the people.
Hello, potential people.
Can you state your name, age, and year in SAIC?
Yes, my name. I was going to say I am. My name is Sherman White. I am 20 years old, almost 21 in a few months, and I. Well, what was the third one? I've already forgotten.
Your year in SAIC.
That's right. And I guess I'm a rising junior at SASC.
Yes.
Wow,
Oh,
first time I said that out loud.
we're getting
Ooh,
old.
yeah,
Wow.
you can see the wrinkles in my face.
It's the lack of sleep.
Don't
So,
tell him that.
so can you tell everyone why did you originally come to SAIC and like tell them what you're going there for, like what your focus is, things like that.
Well, my focus, my practice is film, and when I first viewed SAIC, I did a dual tour thing where I went with my friend to visit schools in Chicago because I'm originally from Texas, and we visited Northwestern and SAIC. We were going to visit Columbia, but we didn't for whatever reason. And Northwestern made me uncomfortable. The only black person I saw was mopping. And it also played into that same kind of liberal arts, very connective, uh, direct programming of classes that I had no intention for. I really didn't want to leave school to enter another strict school. I had no intention of it. I wanted to go out and create things. And SAIC promised an environment where I could just create. I didn't really have to worry about my academics because I could not care less about those types of things. I know that's a heresy for some people, but that's the avenue I stem from, and I was attracted to that. And then they also implored me to apply. They lured me in with scholarships. I say lured me in. That sounds negative. It's not, but no, they liked what I had to offer, and I got in, and they gave me a decent scholarship, so I decided to come.
Yeah. Okay. So, how was your experience so far in film and like studying film with SAIC?
Um, it's funny because I have a friend who is still in high school that we used to work together. He's an actor, and he's leaning towards more directing work in film. And he asked me about SAIC, and I said, your tenacity towards film will get you far at SAIC because you're going to run into people who don't view film the same way that you do. At least in my experience, the people that I've spoken to, I expected to walk into college running into people who are just as tenacious about art, and I am to this day still baffled by the amount of people who just kind of coast by on creation. I don't understand how it's possible. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I was talking to someone about weird. I did a cinematography class this past spring, and I was on camera and I wasn't directing. And the director was sitting to the side and talking with the actors. And I leaned over to one of the crew members. I said, "See this part right here. This is the best part. Look at how the actors and the directors are talking. Look at the relationship being formed. And watch as it plays off in the camera over here." And one of the crew members turns to me and says, "Well, you're really into this stuff, huh?" And I said, "Aren't we all? Are we not all here to be like excited creators?" And I, to this day, I'm still baffled by how minimal that is around here. People just people treat it like it's still high school, and it's just stuff you have to do, and I can't do.
Oh,
I
I
don't know if
feel
that
that.
answers your question.
No, it does. I relate. I remember my first year. Oh my gosh, I sound old. Like when we were
A
freshmen.
while ago, isn't it?
It really is. Like when we were freshmen, I just remember like being in core and seeing people submit things, and I would just be like, "This is what you're submitting, and you're paying 40 grand to do this." Like I can see that you don't
Don't
care
me.
on your
Yeah.
face. Like you can
Yeah.
see it in their face, like they don't care, and I'm just like, I can, I can't afford to go here, and you're just here. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
Blows my mind.
And what also bothers me is like I don't know, like I know a lot of people that like SAIC like its openness in terms of the curriculum. It's got a interdisciplinary style about it, which means that people can float if they want to, which is their prerogative. But I know lots of people that, like in my sophomore seminar class, for example, will say, I do, like, I'm a painter, but I want to dabble in video art, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm scared to. I'm like, no, that's what you're here to do. I tell them, I was like, don't worry about being scared. It might not be good, but you still got to try and make it. Otherwise, you're never going to make it in the first place. And something that a friend once told me is that this is one of the only places in your career where people are going to be sit down and forced to look at and talk about your work. And so why not take advantage of that? Why not use this time to filter out your process? But no, instead people, I don't know, drink White Claw and party. I don't know. That still happens, and that's so baffling to me. People, and then they spend like a week. I don't know. I come across as a crotchety old man when I say stuff like that, but like, I don't even know what White Claw is. I've never seen it in my life, but
It's okay. It's okay. I've never even had it, so you're fine.
is it like beer? I don't know.
I think it's like I don't know. I think it's just like really fruity alcohol. That's like maybe
okay.
like a little sparkle to it, like a little.
Sure. Okay. Right on. Whatever.
But speaking about having people like look at your work and like be forced to, well, no, not air quotes, they are forced to like look at your work. How is your experience with like your critiques so far?
Oh man, it's incredibly varied. I think it wholeheartedly, and I genuinely mean this, it depends on the professor more than anything. A good professor will know how to get critiques out of people. What the students themselves may end up saying is varying in terms of success, but ultimately it depends on the professor themselves, because the professor and the TAs, they will know how to form and narrate the conversation in ways that were in a way shape or form productive. I think a lot of the reason people like myself couldn't stand core class was because it was often 30 people in a room who didn't know each other, hadn't slept for 3 days, and were too busy chain smoking and eating Adderall, excuse me, to pay attention to the art around them. Does that make any sense? And I think that oftentimes I found, particularly thankfully I had a TA that was like, hey guys, you guys want to say anything productive? But I also find that if I bring that up in conversation during critiques, I get some nasty looks.
I know what you're talking about, because I'll literally be in class and I'll be like, guy, like I think I would say that. Actually, no, I would say that all the time in core. I would be like, we are each other's most valuable resources right now. Like, we need to talk to each other. Like, can I please hear someone speak other than the 5
Nobody
people
wants all that preachy jazz.
speak?
They just want to sit there awkwardly and not eat breakfast. That's another thing that baffles me. I think, I don't know, man. Like, we're paying taxes now. You think we should know how to eat breakfast in the morning? But,
well, to move on to classes, do you have a class that you did not like at all? I mean, of course, but like.
Yes. I mean, well, I think core is a good idea in theory. I think core needs to be more structured toward, I don't know if it's like a survey thing, but the idea of like, it should be centered around your practice more, I think. I don't think you should force a kid that wants to be a great painter to, I don't know, shoot a video, for example, if they don't want to, and vice versa. But a couple of the truly awful classes I've had a lot to do with the instructor. Again, it's I think I took I took an art history course on India last fall, and it's amazing how this. It was taught by this woman who was getting her PhD. I won't name names, but she was getting her PhD in Pakistani studies, and she failed to make any true connection with anyone in the class. And because of that, but then she would also have the cognitive awareness to say things such as, why aren't you guys talking more? Why is the class so silent? And it took everything in my being as a person not to say, maybe you're boring us, because that's not productive, but then sometimes, I would see her in the halls and I'd wave and say, how are you doing? And she'd give me very quiet, very solitude responses. And I'm like, I'm not sure what you want. And the course of itself was interesting, sure, but we really didn't learn a lot about the Indian culture. We really only studied Bollywood, which is fine,
That's so
Bollywood's in the title. It's the class is called From Buddhist to Bollywood.
Okay.
We really didn't talk about the Buddhist culture or the Hindu culture. We just only really talked about Bollywood film, which is fine, because if that's a class, so that's what that is. But even then, what we really talked about was the historical context in which the movie got made, and whether or not the movie was racist. That was really only the general context of the class. But I think a professor makes or breaks the course. I really do. I've yet to have a class with a bad professor that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Have you taken, not to get off topic, but have you taken, there's that art history class about time, and okay, you haven't heard of it, so then I would recommend you looking into it and taking it, because it's about movies and time, and how, I'm giving a very terrible description, but when you're signing up for your classes for spring, or if you feel changing for fall, it's it's an art history section, and it's about time in movies, and how time works, and time in movies, and just how things used to be made, and the amount of time it takes for things. And I feel since you do film, it's perfect. I was gonna take it, but
look into that.
Yeah, I was gonna take it, but I forgot what class I signed up.
If you want a class that will empower you, but also if you're someone like me who hates groupthink, will challenge you, I implore you to take Denenge's class on Afrofuturism.
I want to take her class so
I took her class at the recommendation of I have a grad student friend who had her over the summer, and so I took her course in the spring. And as someone who appreciates bringing out the positivity in the Black culture, I very much enjoyed the class.
Yes.
But also as someone who challenges the concept of groupthink and not being able to have a thorough discussion, I found that it was difficult in the class to bring up any negative connotations about the Black culture. Because I personally, blaxploitation movies are praised in that class. I can't stand the concept of blaxploitation.
Okay.
And that's something that I think I would often find difficult to bring up. But that being said, I recommend everybody, Black, white, doesn't matter, take the class, because it's nice to. There's so much in there, and the professor, she's Denenge, she's a true talent at what she does.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic course.
Every time I try to sign up, it's always on a day I have fashion, and I can't take it because fashion's all day. I'm hoping that I can take her class soon, because my next collection is dealing with color theory in regards to Afrofuturism and color in regards to Black people.
Yeah. If Ben LaRose loves you, then she'll love you, because they remind me of each other.
Really?
In some of the best and worst possible ways. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, now to get into something that you don't like. What's a class that you
Because we've been so positive already.
What's a class that you've hated? Oh wait, didn't I ask you that?
No, I was gonna say, I was didn't we just get off this topic?
I did ask you that.
I could name another, but it's not. Sorry, what's that?
I did ask you what you didn't like, and then I asked you what you did like. Okay, we'll just scoot on by. What do you like about the school, or would you change anything about it? Is there do you like how the school is right now, or do you feel like it needs to be shook?
I'll answer that question in two parts. Something that I do enjoy about the class is its emphasis on creation. I think that for better or worse, in terms of what people want in an actual education, whatever that even means anymore, I think it's a school that implores people to go out there and make something. and it implores people to push boundaries, unless the boundaries are being pushed at themselves, of course. But I think a school that wants you to make something as an artist is something that should be heralded as like the definition of the future. I think, if that makes any sense. I think art is everything, and particularly if you apply art to scholarship, I think that's a way to use your critical thinking in ways of pure positivity and creation. That's completely enjoyable. If I had to change one thing, I mean, I would consider raising the 3.2 Black population, but I mean, I mean, there's so much that the school is so hell-bent on certain departments, I find, getting the love and consideration beyond others. And I think that, I don't know if it's about the board of trustees or what, but I feel like there was a definite attention given to certain. It's like back in high school, how the football team would get more love than the theater kids. You know, the photo kids get more love than, say, I don't know, metal workers. I really don't. I mean, it's just. Yeah. I feel like there's still that divide, that discrepancy there that gets more praise, and I think you're, as an artist, we're more than painters and drawers. You know.
Yeah. What about?
And also,
go ahead.
If I may be one more thing.
Of course.
This is more directly, I think. There's a mindset that I find that people have where they think that because we are young, we are still in the process of developing our brain. But by the time we get to SAIC, most of us have truly learned and figured out a lot in our world at that point. And so I implore the teachers and the admin to take us seriously when we express concerns and problems. Because I think that no matter what kind of problems we have, they are often shooed away. I mean, we have a whole department that's meant to help us fight injustices in our school, whether that be racial or discriminatory or gender, any of that stuff. But that gets snuffed out, and I don't know if that's okay. So.
Yeah, I've talked to. I had an issue because there was a very, very terrible incident that happened with a girl I know. And I talked to a person that was like the head of this issue department. I'm not going to be specific about.
You don't want to name the person or the department?
Both.
Okay, cool. I know exactly who you're talking about because I've spoken to them multiple times. I've interviewed them for separate projects.
Okay. And like, I was just like, she came to you with this issue. Why haven't you done anything about it? And they're like, oh, we've had like the police reports, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't know. You could be doing a little more. Telling someone that,
yes.
What did they say? They were like, oh, go to therapy.
Well, you know, the school has 15 or whatever therapy appointments. That's not what I need to hear right now, man, with all due respect.
Like,
I know when I pretended to go to them with problems just to see what the response would be. I approached them with issues, and the way they handled it, I felt so, first of all, demeaned. They turned around a computer screen and made me read certain policies as if I was illegitimate, and it was yes. And they also turned to you and said, "What would you like us to do?" Which is a terrible thing to tell someone in distress, I find. But,
like, yeah, I feel like if something terrible has happened, you should know what to do, especially if this has happened to the institution in the past and you got in a lot of trouble.
It's also your department, so I feel like you should know what the response to that is, yes? What do you want us to do? I don't know, ma'am. What do you think we should do? But that's all we can say on that without indicting anybody.
What about, like, the film department in SAIC? Because not a lot of people actually talk about film in SAIC. Like, they talk about maybe like small like films, but you literally write full-fledged films, like you talk about in class. And I don't know, I feel like not a lot of people expect film to be something you can do at SAIC when it completely is. So how do
I think we have a wonderful department with lots of resources, lots of people that I think are willing to go out there and make the types of films. I guess what we can talk about is break it down to two camps of experimental versus narrative, with narrative being like the films you'd go see in the theater, and experimental being the type of films that you would see at like an experimental film festival or SAIC has these televisions next to the elevators, and you see these experimental films being displayed in the corner, video art. And I think a school like SAIC emphasizes video art far more than they emphasize narrative film. But I find if you take classes in the film department, you are, let's say you want to become a better screenwriter, you can take screenwriting classes. There are wonderful screenwriting classes offered here at SAIC. One of them is John Petrakis. He's a wonderful screenwriting professor. Hopefully he doesn't do anything bad in the future that ruins this video. But no, like there is a path for people who want to create narrative film. I think it's just about finding it. This is very much a school, because it is so open, where you have to find your own education. And I think that I do think it's definitely rare to find creators, I guess, much like ourselves, where the tenacity is so strong. And it's kind of like, using my craft, for example, I don't make movies because I like them, which sounds weird. I make movies because I can't help it. You know,
No, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah, when I walk down the street, I see the world as if I'm looking through the lens of a camera. I move my head like I'm on a tripod or something, or some kind of rig. I write and think in dialogue. That's just how my brain works. And you can see it if you read or see my work. And
you can see it if you talk to you.
Yes,
like how you speak. It's just very evident.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that needs to be. I think that needs to be the case if you want to be a truly successful creator in this type of field, sure. But I don't think that necessarily needs to be the case if you want to create here at SAIC. I think you need to show and put in the effort that you're willing to create something truly wonderful. Because I've met people here with a gorgeous eye for the behind the lens, and I've read some scripts and I go, that's wonderful. I'd love to turn that into something. But I just think that, I don't know, maybe because we get trapped, maybe because the school rewards laziness. I really don't know what it is, but I find that a lot of it gets snuffed out. Again, it's not.
That's so interesting.
We have cameras here that they use for like old Netflix shows. Use these types of cameras.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we have wonderful equipment.
Oh yeah, I've seen the media center, like the multitudes of the media center, because there's like what 3 or maybe 4. I don't know.
There are 3 media centers. The one primarily used for the film departments in the McLean building on 112. But I mean, even the one in Columbus down there near the museum is, I mean, the stuff they have there, I would argue, is sometimes more valuable than the film equipment we have, which is, again, another conversation to have. But, I mean, man, you guys have millions of dollars worth of equipment down there at the Columbus.
Oh, and they're like, their media center sales?
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So, back to SAIC as a whole, has your view on SAIC changed since you came here?
Yes, only because I my view on people has changed. I think since I've gotten SAIC, I think somehow, despite my tenacity and my I keep using that word, despite my passion, my fervor and how I speak, I think I've become far less cynical than when I walked into college back in August. I was so soured by the system of academia. And I think despite me being more aware of just how downtrodden and ridiculous a school like this can be sometimes, I am still just making things. I took a class this past spring. It was a fashion course, but it was taught by a professor who just let me make experimental films. And so I would just write scripts and shoot things. And he said, you got to make a film every 3 weeks. And I was like, yes, sir. And so I just made them. And I can't think of that's what 8-year-old me wanted, just to go out there and make stuff all the time. And I'm kind of getting to that point in my life. So I become less cynical to the whole academic system. That being said, the school tries really hard to get me back to that cynical place. And when it does, I have to speak out. In the wake of recent events, I've written letters addressed to our school's president and how they've chosen to handle things. But I still have nothing but love and respect for creation. So.
Aww, that makes me like tear up. Oh, that was such a great answer. Wow.
I assume that's how everybody thinks, though. I don't know. Maybe that's where all the conflict comes in with people. I once in my film class, we were trying to figure out like the quality of something in a shot, and someone went, we're not trying to win Oscars here. And I was like, speak for yourself. I was like, I got plans. I don't know what you're aspiring to be here, but don't take me down to that level, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, yeah, I definitely feel what you're saying when it comes to like you just wanted to go somewhere where you could be creative, create what you wanted, and be around people that felt similarly about your passion.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it's easier to find those people like in your specific like what's it called area like for me like
Yeah.
in fashion like being in class with people that also make and create garments no matter like
Mm-hmm.
the grade age, it's just nice to be around creation. um and like I guess like the nice thing is that like with fashion people really get weeded out when it comes to if you're going to do effort or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just fashion is a lot. And like I'm sure other other focuses are a lot. It's just funny how fashion has that rep of like being like the death center of students and like student feelings.
Yeah, I'll be honest. You're the first person I've heard say something positive about the fashion department, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I hear nothing but negative things.
Because people
I
are
hear
always
it's
like, "Oh, I'm
yeah.
so tired. Oh, I don't want to
Oh, well,
make another
that's campus
muslin."
wide. Yeah, yeah.
But
And I
like,
never understood that mentality. By the way, the idea of not sleeping because you're working on stuff, I
mm,
find that to be incredibly detrimental and dangerous. Your brain matter is worth more than the money you're paying to go here. But that's just me.
that's
You don't have to
something.
agree
That's a
with
nice thing to hear, especially after all of the nights that I did not get sleep in fashion.
I spent last fall working on a feature film that never got made, and I prided myself on not losing sleep despite me trying to make that film.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I knew I wouldn't be able to wake up in the morning and feel happy about myself.
Yeah.
I don't understand people like, oh, I spent 4 days working on a painting nonstop, and I was like, did you sleep? They're like, no. I'm like, what are you doing? I was like,
Yeah.
when were you assigned the assignment? They're like 4 weeks. I was like, well, then that's on you. That's something entirely different. That's not
Mm-hmm.
you working day and night for 4 weeks. That's you trying to do 4 weeks in 4 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely also becomes a competition of like, oh, you didn't get any sleep. Oh, I slept here the entire. I mean, I didn't. No,
Yes.
they'll be like,
Yeah.
I've been here all night. I haven't left since Friday, and it's
Yeah.
Sunday.
I'm like, I don't know if you swear your channel. I'm like, you want a cookie or something?
Oh
Like,
no,
I
that's
don't.
fine. I think Casey or Scout already cursed, so it's
You
fine.
want a fucking cookie or something, man? Like, what do you? It's not a competition for who gets the most. Like, people turn mental health here into a competition.
Yeah,
That's
no,
wild to
we were
me.
talking about that in it was like my environmental studies class.
Mm.
So, like, but we always used to get like off topic, but like the conversations were
Those are the
always
best
beautiful.
classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about how it's like almost a little sickening to like see people making mental illness and just lack of sleep a competition, and
Mm-hmm.
people being like, "Oh, you're on this medication. Well, I'm on these three,"
Yeah.
or I don't know. It's just like,
I don't
but
think we
I
should be finding solidarity, and I think support and solidarity are two different things. We're not like a coalition of
mm-hmm,
mentally sick people.
mm-hmm,
We need to be getting each other help, not saying, oh, whenever someone's like, I feel sad, and someone goes, same. That's not helpful. That's not. That's just two sad people in a room now.
yeah, yeah.
It's one thing
Well,
I don't like about essays.
it's a constant thing. Um, but I guess to end, do you have any advice that you would give to someone that is thinking about coming to SAC or that is actually like just got accepted and they're coming this fall?
Be ready to show up, and there's a reason they've accepted you. Whether that's because you're a person of color and they need to fill a quota, or because you're a talented artist, be ready to show up and do what you want. Um, don't let people say that you can't do something for whatever reason or another. And don't be afraid to challenge those whom, how do I say this? Whom present themselves as higher.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a hierarchy when you first get in there. And also, and to speak press, there's going to be a solid 2 weeks, freshman, where right after everyone leaves the Art Institute that Saturday night, there's going to be a solid 2 weeks where the entirety of the dormitory just turns into a big sex
Oh
pit.
my god, yes.
And everyone, let's say, because this happened to me, I had a group of like 8 or 9 friends, and I promise you that within that group, 7 of them had sex with each other. I think, which is hilarious. I was like the only one in the group. People kept telling me things. I was like, really? Everyone's having sex, huh? And I was like, well, no one's having it anyways. Point is, it's going to be just a cesspit, and you can cut this out if you want. But
No, I'm
like,
gonna keep it in.
understand that first of all, you don't have to. Don't feel bad if you don't. If you run into people that are making you feel shitty for not doing it, then cut those people out of your life immediately. And understand that just because you were close to them when you first met them here, because you were both strangers, if you notice that they are a shitty person, leave.
Mm-hmm.
Not the school, but them,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you're going to find yourself in this weird trapped relationship or friendship that you think is defined by the solidarity of meeting at the same time in your research group or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so don't get distracted by the weird social climate that SAIC will have. And if you don't smoke before you get here, don't start. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't already do cocaine, I would recommend starting it when you go to a party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which
Don't
is
be afraid to drink. Drinking's
like,
fun. But that's don't watch some kid's gonna die of alcohol poisoning and they're gonna be like, Mr. White, did you say this at 37:45 in the river? I'm like, no, I didn't.
oh my gosh, it's also funny that you mentioned parties because SIC is not a party school, but they like the students find parties.
Yes,
Like
yes. I
they're
got a
so
knife pulled
good
on
at
me in
it.
October when I like I
Huh?
went to my first big party I tried to go to was a Northwestern party. It was held at a warehouse on just south of the Roosevelt Bridge, and
Wait, what
I
October?
went.
Like this past October or the like
No, this was
freshman
October
year?
freshman year. The weekend of my birthday. I didn't want to go because I'm not a party person. I don't like
Did the
crowds. I don't like
police like
stupid
bust
people.
in?
Huh?
Did the police bust that party?
Yeah, were you there? Everyone was
Yes.
at this party. Yeah,
People were like,
I
yeah.
was on my way, and I'm like, I'm like, is that a cop car outside? Because I went late, because I was like, I guess I'll go, and I went down. And I took the bus, and I went in, and I was waiting in line, whatever, and some lady was like, she was just being weird, and then like, I hear someone yell cops, and this lady's got a knife on me, and I'm like, I'm like, what are you doing, chief? And I hauled ass, and I started walking away. I was like, I'll take off. And then as I'm rounding the corner, I see cops heading toward this area. So yeah, I was almost at the party that got busted.
I remember because like my roommate at the time and like old friends that I had, they were like, "Oh, we should go to this party," and I'm like, "I don't even have a costume. I don't go to parties. Like, I'm very
Was it a
awkward at
costume
parties."
party?
Yeah, it was like because it was Halloween, so people were like dressed up. Not everyone dressed up, but the girls dressed up.
I wore I wore shirt and jorts. I didn't know it was a costume party. Yeah.
My costume was uncomfortable, but my friends at the time were like, "No, you look cute." Never again. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just so hilarious that you bring that up. Because yeah, we like especially like if they become friends with Columbia students because um, when I first came to school, I was friends with this person that went to Columbia, and then I got introduced to all these Columbia people, and then I introduced my roommate at the time to these Columbia people,
Yeah.
and it's just like Columbia students the oh my whoa this is all I have to say is just whoa.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I went
If
to
you
one.
meet an attractive, slim white dude and he's super charming and seems to be kind of pushing you towards a certain sexual area,
mm,
ask if he goes to DePaul. Yeah.
mm, mm.
There's a certain genre of like DePaul slim white boys that like I don't want to call them the fuck boys because they may not be, but my god, I've heard no good stories. They're the fashion department of the DePaul
Oh
kids.
my god.
Just a slew of negativity. That's what I'll say.
it's
Yeah.
very it's very hilarious the things you see in college. Like I remember one party I went to, it wasn't even like a party, it was just like I think it was for Thanksgiving, and it was just like a get together.
Thanksgivings are dangerous.
Yeah, and this girl got drunk, and then she started kissing every single boy in the room.
That happened to me every week. My friend group had a family dinner, which is a great concept that I took from my old friend group. We would just hang out and have dinner and hang out. People would make their own separate dish every week, and every time people would drink, and then some people would just start making out. It was bizarre. This was during that 2 to 5 week period where everyone was sleeping with each other. You see, it was just a promiscuous time that I didn't understand.
Yeah, a lot of
That's
people got
going to
into
be okay, guys.
relationships.
Don't worry about that. What's
Yeah,
that?
everything will be okay. But yeah, a lot of people got into relationships. I remember I was in the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot his name, but he just passed away.
Yes.
But he was talking about he was in the elevator and someone was talking about how they're dating this person. He was like, "You already in a relationship? It's the second week of school. It's the second week of college."
That's something one of my friend groups that I told her about that, and she was like, "It's a day 5," and I was like, "They work fast. It's like rabbits. They don't know how to stop." I really don't know how to describe it other than it was very quick, and it makes total sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly if you're a semi-attractive looking person, you drop 9 people in a room. I mean, it's just, what do you think's going to happen? And they're unsupervised. They know this because they put condoms in the bathrooms.
They
You know
do,
what I mean?
yes. Yeah.
Which, don't feel awkward about it. Your parents are going to get a pamphlet with a condom in it, and don't let your parents get awkward about that. Just tell them it's a part of the naturalness of how things happen in this case.
Oh yeah. This, what do they call that? It's like what, the sex fest, like where like they distribute
Oh,
like the
I didn't go
pamphlets.
sex fest, but they have lubes, condoms.
Yeah, it's they really try to promote safeness, but also just sex.
Safeness amongst rich white kids. Yeah. What? Sorry, you didn't hear that from me. I apologize.
Oh my gosh.
I'll keep this clean.
Absolutely hilarious.
Well, we didn't even touch on the race thing. We could spend another half hour talking about the race thing.
You know what? Why not? Some of my videos on here are an hour. So we're only at like 36 minutes.
Already? Oh my god. Yeah, look at the time.
If people want to keep watching, this is a bonus.
You could put time codes in the link below. And be like, we jumped a race 30 minutes in.
I could. I'll put the effort in for this one.
I did YouTube for a couple years. I ran podcasts and did movie reviews and stuff. And so I understand the grievances of editing. That's partly why I stopped. I just didn't have the time. So,
yeah. Thankfully with these, I'm just able to like put the clip on, unless like someone is having, like my friend was having a cough fit, so I had to like cut that out.
Oh, cut the coughs out? Yeah. Oh man, But leading a podcast when you have like, I don't know, bronchitis or something, that's a horrific thing to try to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I felt bad because she just woke up too.
What you recorded at 8:30 in the morning?
No, it was like 12, and she was like, Christ. I was like, she was like, oh, I'm free whenever, and I was like, okay, let's do it now, and she's like, okay, and then I call her, and she's like, I just woke up. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, we can do this later, and she's like, no, it's fine. But just so that we don't get off tangent too far, race, you brought up how we have a 3-point blah 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 percentage of black people. Thankfully, I talked about this in another episode, this past year we got so many new black students, which is lovely to see, but also it's still like 3,000 people to like 30 people. Yeah.
You can see them, like and it's somewhat baffling. For the first time last year, I saw a black person that was older than me, and I was kind of taken aback. You know, it's like when you see a small child walk around the campus, you're like, wow, like you do a double take, because I saw a black person that I didn't recognize on campus, and I was like, oh hey, how's it going? I won't get into the ins and outs about the clickiness of SAIC, because much like high school, it's ridiculous. I will say that, fun story that I promise is relevant. I applied to be an RA last spring or whatever, before the sophomore year. Did you apply to be an RA?
No, just because fashion. Even though I wanted to, but also not to be what's the word? It's not petty. It's like when you really just care about how something looks. What's that word again?
Vain?
I guess. I do not like the RA rooms, and I love windows. And after my first year of having a brick wall, only windows. Like I have the corner room now. Never ever switching.
Nice. Really? Okay. Ever. Yeah. No, hey. I understand. No, I applied to be an RA. Hold on one second. For the next year, and one of the questions they ask you is, what does diversity look like at SAIC? And apparently my answer sparked controversy, which cost me the job, because one of the people that was on the committee to hire me turned out to be my boss over the summer. He was a senior RA. He's a great dude. But he was talking about it. He was like, yeah, we had a big discussion about that. I think that's what cost it. And my answer was, I said, SAIC is a place that feigns diversity. It waves a flag of inclusiveness, but it's all a fallacy. You know, they'll show a picture of some black kids sitting at a table, but a group of black kids sitting at a table is not diversity. It is a group of black kids that choose to collect together because they are surrounded by people they don't recognize. I said, if you see a black kid, a white kid, an Asian kid, yada yada, that's diversity, that's inclusiveness, that's a group of people all coming together because despite their differences. You know what I mean? They didn't like that answer. Apparently, and so apparently that's what cost me the job. But I think that's a prime example of the way race is treated here at SAIC. Yeah. If I did a painting and I had red, white, and blue in there, then suddenly it's about cops. I can't, and it's something that becomes defining in my work. And I feel it's the same thing. Like, I accidentally made a film that had an all-women cast, and people talked about it, and that became the point of the conversation, but it wasn't intentional. I just found the cast I wanted to use was all females. Granted, I of course the idea of inclusion is important, but it wasn't something that I was like, I consciously did. But it became the point of discussion. Do you find that happens as a person of color?
I find that whenever I make art that may be a little interesting, to say the least, it's like, oh, just because you're black? Like, it's like,
is it that direct? People are like, oh, just because you're really?
I mean, like, I'm like cutting into it, but in all honesty, like, the questions that like they go around, it's like, why can't I be a black artist or just an artist? Like, it's either like, it's like people can't separate like that a black artist can just make art just because they feel like it, and like, and I've seen it happen to countless friends where like they're making art and it may be personal, but like their intention wasn't for it to be black art. It was just they're just making art as a black person. And I don't know, I feel like the artist world itself needs to separate that notion of like calling a black artist, like they're an artist, they're just a person,
they're just an artist. And it's like, I think that's ridiculous. I use film because I got into this debate in one of my film analysis classes last fall about directors of color who should make work that don't need to be defined by the color of their skin or their ethnic background. They should just be allowed to make whatever movies they want to make. But society rewards people for talking about their race. They reward works. I use the Oscars for an example. Steven Spielberg he's a Jewish filmmaker, and he made The Color Purple back in 1987. And
I didn't know he did that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie, and he did that movie got multiple nominations, won awards. Everyone but Spielberg, the white director, was nominated for it. It wasn't until Spielberg, a Jewish man, directed Schindler's List a few years later that he got the Best Director Oscar then. Steve McQueen is a fantastic black filmmaker, and he first was a visual artist. And it wasn't until he made 12 Years a Slave that the world decided to pay attention to him. You know what I mean? And it's something that I think about all the time. And it's unfortunate. I think there are filmmakers who pride themselves on making a work that is about the color of their skin. People like Ava DuVernay or Spike Lee. Like, these are talented filmmakers that also want to talk about the racial issues that are currently happening in our country. And that's totally fine. But I also think, like, why can't we just watch Mission Impossible, but instead of Tom Cruise, it's Idris Elba? Like, nothing's different except it's a black guy in the lead. And that's what I strive to do as a creator. I strive to make films that are just regular, everyday films that happen to have people of color or women in the lead. That's just something I try to do with my work.
It's like Us. Like the movie Us.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great example.
Like, what? Like, everyone was like, oh, this is a movie about a black family, blah, blah, blah. And, like, he was like, no, it's not. It's just a movie about people and, like, them being their own worst enemy.
Yeah. And I would argue it's still a movie about class and the 1%. But I do think that they are not defined by the color of their skin in that film, of course. Yeah. So I don't know. It's such a bizarre thing to be so. And it also feels weird because I learned a term this week in the wake of everything that's happening in America. I learned the term racial gaslighting, which I think is a great way to put it. It's a beautiful way to put what happens a lot. That and not white savior, but like performative activism. The amount of times I've had different professors or TAs talk about the need for me to use my black voice, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable, because if that's not something I want to do at the time, then I feel like I shouldn't have to. But no one wants to hear that. I got into a debate with other black students in my class when I brought that Color Purple fact up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is just a very interesting topic. Um, I don't know. I'm happy that we are seeing more Black students and just people of color. A lot of in like the past interviews I've been doing, a lot of us have talked about how we just need more people of color teachers. Um, just because it's nice to have a person that um, I mean, I don't want to be so blunt about it, but like that is like similar to you ethnically, not because of their ethnicity, just because they understand certain things that you will talk about that other people like can't grasp fully.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was talking to a friend and she was like, "Why can't black cis men just like be okay with femininity?" And I'm like, "It's because you don't understand what they've been through and you don't
Totally.
understand that they're scared of certain like and like that doesn't mean that they're not in the wrong for what they're doing to
Sure.
black trans women, but like understand where it comes from so that we can fix it. Don't just beat them and like get I don't know. You know what I'm
Yeah,
trying to
I
say?
know exactly. It's a cultural thing in terms of that thing. I remember how often I was raised under the concept of it's weird because they tell you not to be sensitive, but they also tell you to take care of the women in your life. And so it's this weird thing of like, well, am I supposed to be someone who is compassionate and understands, or am I supposed to be the big manly man that doesn't let anyone punk on me? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I can totally understand that concept. And you're right, it doesn't excuse the weird toxic masculinity that goes amongst cis black dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus. But I do understand what you're talking about in terms of getting people to represent. It's like getting a queer professor to teach a queer type of class.
Mm-hmm.
It's about having someone who can experience the story, tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think additionally to hiring, because in the email that List of 10 you put out to addressing some of the issues, which I have my comments on,
Me too.
I wrote a letter, and I wrote a letter to her and put it in, sent her the letter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's not just enough to pay I say so. It's not enough to pay the people the same, because you're by saying that you're going to continue to work towards equity pay amongst all staff, regardless of color. I think what you're saying is that you're going to end up paying the people who are being oppressed the same as the oppressors. And I think what must be done now is to weed out those who refuse the change to the system. I think there are professors I've had who, whether it's because of tenure or whatever reason, privilege, they have a means of commenting in a certain way, and these microaggressions, this racial gaslighting, these what would you need to do type that are incredibly dangerous and cause people to not want to speak out. I had an older professor, he's an elderly white man, and the way he talked about his childhood like he was Emma Stone in The Help, and I was like, come on, dude. And like the way he defended rape, it's a whole thing. And I
What?
think that, yes, and I think that we should punish and reprimand those who choose to speak in that way and refuse change. And I think people who hide behind the veil of academia are just as dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all know the Martin Berger thing at this point. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that's public knowledge by now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I mean, I
I
don't know if
think
like
we're, of
future students know about it because I feel like there are a lot of SAIC issues that even people at SAC don't know about.
course.
Um, because I was one of the people that didn't know about that incident until like the summer.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
Should I give the story, or
You can. Yeah. Go ahead. Because I
I
don't
can
know
give
it
it.
in
I can.
detail.
I
You
can give it
can.
in a brief thing. Martin
Yeah.
Berger, who is I believe he's either provost or he's dean of faculty, one of those two jobs, whichever one's higher. He in fall of 2018 was giving a conference, a discussion where he dropped an N word, a hard R, if you will, indirect quotation of black activist Elizabeth Eckford, who was among the first kids to get integrated in schools back in the 60s or 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and people were upset with Berger for making the comment, obviously, and so Berger sent response emails, apology emails to directly to people who spoke out against them. The people in the school itself never actually commented on the full event. Not until people wrote a letter asking them to, and then a year later, in October of 2019, there was an open forum wherein people varied their grievances and called out Martin Berger for the racist comment that it was. I went to an open forum. I was there and I asked questions. I said, well, how come students don't know about this? There was no real response. To quote our president, she said all faculty and staff were informed, which isn't an answer to my question, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote an article about it. F News wrote an article about it, and we dropped the articles back in March. And then they and because the articles took so late to come out, the story came and went without any interest.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I guess someone found it. I don't know whom, but people began posting it again, which was nice validation for me. And now people are calling for the guy's job. And I'm not going to go in the camp of saying that he should be fired. I won't make that direct claim. I will say that he needs to be held accountable, and at least the students need to know. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be fired. I'm saying that I don't want a school like SAIC to have a scapegoat or patsy to hide behind. This institutional problem is bigger than Martin Berger.
Yeah.
And if the school decides that that's what they should do, by all means. But what they should do first and foremost is publicly declare what happened, tell the students, tell the people, and apologize and reprimand him in whatever way they deem fit.
Mm-hmm. It's like that movement. What is it? Step up or shut up.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Silence is violence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very interesting. And the people that are thinking about coming to the school, I think that's going to rock their world when they hear that.
I hope they see it, man. And the articles, you can link them below if you want. They're publicly available. Like, anybody can read them.
I'll put them down below.
Yeah, links in the description, guys. I don't know. It's a wild time.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I didn't like about the email was how, don't get me wrong, I'm so appreciative of them donating money to outside resources for Black people, but there are still things that need to be done inside the school for Black
I felt
students.
so patronized too when I read that. I did the math. Again, I talked about this in the letter, but 25, they donated to 7 different charities. If you divide that equally, it's about $3,500, which is still roughly $2,000 less than it costs to take one semester here at SAIC, take a course here at SAIC. Alyssa Tenney's salary is $637,000. That's like 4% of her salary. They say they're going to match any donations made by any staff or faculty or student. So I implore on her and I implore on Martin Berger to donate at least $10,000, which already would double the amount that they donated as an institution. Their net assets in the fiscal year of 2017 was $1.3 billion. Their total revenue is $367 million. They make $187 million on tuition alone 3 years ago.
It's insane.
They can donate more. That's all I'm saying.
And they can do more for the Black students here. Like, I mean, don't get, like, I'm not saying, like, give every Black person a free ride. I'm just saying, like, can I get some more opportunities? Like, like you, I got a nice scholarship. And, like, I was like, okay, this is nice. $75,000. Sweet. But then, like, you get into, like, the logistics of the prices of school. Doesn't even, it's like the tip of the iceberg, which is insane because $75,000 is literally such a sweet down payment on a house.
$75,000 is like some colleges around the nation, and I imagine a lot overseas, cost less than $75,000. I don't know what it is about the school that costs so much. Maybe it's the $500,000 camera they have in the photo department. Who knows?
I guess it's like I can understand. I guess it's because they're like private and like they don't really get like much governmental funds.
They're a non-profit private organization. And they have a lot of expenses for sure. In terms of salaries but also our president makes the president of the museum makes $700,000, I believe. This is based off of their 2017 tax returns, which are available online, by the way. You can just Google it. So you don't have to put that in the Look at our school's tax returns. No one's going to read those. Unless there's psychopaths out there like me. They're like, oh, really? Yeah. I was baffled when I read those. I was like, what? I was like, they make so much money. There are people here that make more than our entire tuition. I don't understand.
It's just like, I don't know. I would really love some more scholarship opportunities that are, I don't know, not bogus. Like, because I talked about this in another video I made. Like, I showed all of my college bills, and I already have $106,000 in loans. Like, we're halfway through, and then if you think about the interest, that's gonna be, like, I mean, I'm praying so hard that it doesn't take me 10 years to pay all this off, but if it does, it'll cost me 400 grand. And I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like for have you heard that quote about how it's not a fair race for black people because they're starting from like 400 years behind, 200 years
Yeah.
behind, whatever it is.
It was a great picture about equity versus equality that I
Yeah.
talk about a lot.
And it's just like, how do you expect us to catch up? How do you expect us to, like the world wants us to have degrees. Why make the degrees so, I mean, granted, I know I chose this school, I know I saw the price, but like, this is what I want to do. And why is it so hard to catch up? Why is it so hard for black families to build a wealth? And
Yeah.
like, they're just trying to, and wealth is very different from being rich. Wealth is everlasting. Rich is so fleeting. And it's just
Yes.
like I want to be successful, and I chose this school because I felt like it would really help me to be successful and to understand the field I'm trying to go into. But at the same time, you can do like a little more in helping your students and like the financial aid department. The only person in financial aid that I've met is Kevin. I think, yeah, that's Kevin. He's the only person that actually talked to me like a
Mm-hmm.
person.
It's
Because I
because he's in
had,
charge. It's because he
yeah,
can.
yeah. And it's just like the person I made an
I
appointment
won't name
with.
anyone else's name, but I've spoken with damn near everyone else in that department, and Jesus Christ, uh,
Like
I don't.
people are
Yeah.
scared. Like, do you know how, like, that's just so sad that people are so scared to go to school because it costs too much, and like
Mm-hmm.
loans scare people, and rightfully so. Loans are a lot. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
why is there only one person in that department that is actually like that actually cares about how a student can pay for this? Like he was
Mm-hmm.
I think like the woman I made an appointment with, it lasted maybe 2 minutes. I was
Yep.
so pissed that I wrote an email to my academic advisor, and she was like, "I'll get you an appointment with the head of like financial aid." And I'm like, "Okay, great." And then him and I talked for an hour
Mm-hmm.
about how I can potentially get more money, and because of
Mm-hmm.
him, I got two more scholarships. Granted, it was like 1,700, but any money
Hey man,
is
listen. Yeah.
something. And just like,
Yes.
I don't know, it's like frustrating when you apply for scholarships and like you don't get anything. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I know people that apply for scholarships, and it's definitely disheartening when you don't get anything. And yes, I'm so thankful that the school gives us something, because something is always better than nothing. Well, in some cases.
Yeah. In
But
some cases, something is more biting than nothing. I
yeah,
imagine. Yeah.
yeah.
$25,000, I'd argue, was worse than $0, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I just hope, I don't know, I hope all of this, what's going on right now, makes them really reevaluate. I don't know if it will. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, like, I feel like the students really need to push for that, which is like a
Yeah.
little
If we
sad.
remain vocal, and if every response that Alyssa Tenney or our school in general posts gets the same response as that black square got on Instagram, then I think we just might see change. I think once the school year starts, if we don't get clouded in the idea of our academics again, and I think we remember the institution around us, because I think right now this is part of the reason I think why the whole country's burning itself to the ground for good reason. Because for the last 3.5 months, we were told we weren't allowed to go outside.
Mm-hmm.
And those of us who were smart didn't go outside. And now suddenly the world's telling us to go outside to stand up for what's right. And I think a lot of people are just doing that for the sake of leaving their house. And you see that on Twitter now. You see now that the fight is dying down, but it can't die down.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing is true for SAIC. I wrote that one paper, but I didn't even talk about the idea of a day of prayer or whatever she said, whether it was a day of memorial in which
I
you
think
put
it
in
was
the email.
silence, in all honesty. I
Some,
think it was
something
just
something like
silence.
that,
Yeah.
which she said people can take time off, but you don't have to use your paid time off. So okay, but are they still getting paid? Things there are people there that work at SAC. They can't afford to take those days.
Mm-hmm.
The more well-off white people that can afford to take those days will take those days. But I know people, I don't know, the cooks, the cleaners, ABM, or from students, or from workers. They can't afford that. People that get work study, or people that don't get work study, they can't afford that kind of a day off. That's food,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Mm. Hmm.
Tea.
So much tea. Oh, so much lovely tea.
I didn't ask you this before I let you go because you brought up we've had a class together. I think only one. It was a good class, but and you're very pointed in your academics. So my question is, what are you doing at the school of SAIC that kind of is more artistically based? I imagine you wanted to go to, I don't know. I see you going to a Northwestern school and being like the face of color that they put all over the posters.
Oh my god. That's
Like,
funny
look
because
at us, we're Northwestern. Look at, oh my God, look how open
look
we are.
how diverse
Look
we
at her
are.
hair. Look at her hair. Look how open and free her hair
Oh my
is.
god.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak so candidly, but
No, no, it's fine. Oh my gosh, there's a red robin outside my window. That's lovely.
yeah.
Sorry, I've never seen that happen. Um, in all honesty, while I love, like, I'm a person that loves school and
Mm-hmm.
just loves learning. I love school for the purpose of learning, not for
Sure.
its institutional
Mm-hmm.
negativities. Oh, my laptop is about to die. That's fine. Um,
We're almost done, anyways.
yeah. But I spent high school and just no, not even just high school. Ever since fourth grade, I knew I wanted to go to an art school. And ever since fourth grade, I was waiting for college. I originally wanted to go to Parsons for their design program because at the time it was fantastic. Now, I don't know about that. But um, I just remember sitting in high school because I could have graduated maybe like a year or two early because I was just taking classes to take classes because my parents were like, no, you shouldn't graduate early. Just like enjoy your college experience. I mean, enjoy your high school experience. And
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus Christ! Don't do that to your kids. I don't want to speak candidly, but I can't stand that. I can't stand that quote unquote experience crap. No, you do you as a person. If you worked your ass off and got yourself out there by sophomore year, then that's what happened.
mm-hmm.
Go off, keep going. You only got 87 years. Don't waste them fucking around. Anyways, you were
Yeah.
saying.
I just remember like sitting in, what class was it? It was like my statistics class.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, terrible. I love math. Don't get me wrong, but that class was just terrible. The teacher did not know how to teach.
Yeah.
But I yearn to make things, and like when I can't make things, I get physically sad. Like,
Fancy and whatnot. Yeah.
yeah, it's just it's like I feel like it's just my purpose. Ever since how old was I? I don't even know. I think 8. I got my first
Yeah.
sewing machine, and my grandma was like, "You're gonna be a designer," and I'm like, "No, I'm gonna be a vet." And then someone's parent came in and told me that it would take me 8 years to be a vet. I'm like, "Oh, that's funny. I'm not doing that." And I said that when I was like 7 or 8 years old,
Yeah.
and ever since then I've been sewing, and I just really enjoy making things. I mean, granted, how I see fashion has changed because I used to just think of it as like cute clothes that I would make for myself because I couldn't fit into things because I'm quite long. But now I see it as just like fashion is art, and I want to make fashion that is meaningful and that tells a story and that comes from a lot of research. Like, I'm a researcher. I think this is probably why I make all these videos because I just love talking about information and I love
Yeah.
learning information. Um, so yeah, I just to be and like hopefully my dad doesn't watch this, but because like I didn't tell him that I only applied to SAIC. This was the only school I applied to. Um,
I was going to apply to another school. I went to visit my quote unquote dream school, and it was just like any other college, liberal
mm-hmm.
arts school, where you take other classes before you become associated with your major. And I had no interest in any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I looked at what kind of schools that had good film programs that didn't have also liberal arts classes, and they're all grad schools.
Mm.
They're all grad schools, and you can't take a grad school without going to BFA school.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I'm still undecided on how I feel about grad school, but I don't know. I just really when I looked up SAIC's fashion program, I was just like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
this this large, gigantic, I don't even know what you are thing. How do I make that? Because I don't know how to do that. I know how to make a regular top. I know how to make a regular skirt. I'm tired of it. So, yeah, I guess like long.
You described yourself as a storyteller earlier, which I think is ingenious because I can see that about you. Absolutely. I mean, that's what it is, though. And I mean, like I use this word, drink, take a shot every time I say this word, but the tenacity is there, man. I'm telling you, and I can see it. You can hear it in the voice. And that's what I'm talking about when I say creators. They're just. I'm not going to say what defines a true artist. I won't. I think that's a dangerous one to get into. But all I say is that you can hear it. and you can see it in how people talk about their craft.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be quote unquote obsessive, but I think it does have to. I often describe film as a toxic relationship right now with my craft, because
Oh, I feel that.
it's the most rewarding and loving thing on the planet, but every day it also finds a way to break my heart.
And it's
And it's just
stressful.
it's the abusive boyfriend that I keep going to at times, and it's ridiculous. But I love him so much. So
Yeah, it's just
yeah.
like, I don't know, I guess it's just like the reward that you get after like your hard work. It's like the one thing you feel
Mm-hmm.
like is worth it.
Yeah.
Versus other things. Cuz my grandpa was like, "Why can't you just be a doctor? Why don't you just want to like he was like, "Oh, you like art? Then be a cosmetic like plastic surgeon." I was like,
Plastic
"No, thank
surgeon.
you.
Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine. I will go and mess with
Most
fabric
doctors are
all
plastic
day
surgeons,
long."
but you want to be a fashion designer, and so that's
Yeah.
what you do.
And now
I
he
remember when you
sees
told me
it.
you had a store when we were in art and English together. You were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I run this store out of my dorm room." I was like, "Oh, word."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, so I'm not the only one here that's not fucking around." I'm like, "Oh, that's great." Because I was in the midst of writing a feature script, and I thought I was a madman for it. But no, you got your own fashion store going for you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, which you had before you got to SAIC, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, sweet you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. It's nice to I hope that people see that like wherever you go, it's just really important. Like the people also really make your experience, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Except DePaul. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. If anyone's listening and they want to go to DePaul, they're like, oh, like that's their first
They have a
choice.
good
You want
law
to be a lawyer,
school.
go to DePaul. It's a good
Yeah,
law school.
exactly.
You want to be a
Great law
lawyer,
school.
yeah,
Yeah.
great law school. Don't be a dick if you're going to be a lawyer. Just be a
Yeah.
good person
Yeah.
before that. But,
Well, my laptop is on 2%. So before it
yes, go
hangs
ahead.
up on me, thank you so much for letting me interview. Thank you for such a nice conversation.
Yeah, it's
Um,
always good to have one.
yes. And I will end the recording. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Yes, it will. Okay, great.